it's a good beginning for youth that, okay, I don't believe in God, but keep searching. Right now, I don't believe it, but maybe I will believe when I do experience it. So, it's a scientific approach. When I find a way and say, okay, if I do this, when my heart mixes with a prayerful attitude, and when I sit with a receptive heart and try to receive the grace and see what I become as a result of it. If I experience, then we can say, yes, I feel the presence of God. Okay? Then that will convince them. So let us approach spirituality with a scientific background. See, that when I meditate, when I close my eyes, does it change my consciousness? Does it change my awareness? Do I become softer as a result? Do I become more poised and centered or more compassionate? Does my weaknesses dissolve as a result of doing something? Then I say yes. There is something in it. Maybe I'm yet to experience God because all that I've experienced is peace and deeper peace and more of it. But when am I going to experience God? Well, it will take you one day. This settledness, this compassionate heart, the loving heart, which is full of purity, that will definitely weave our destiny with our Maker. It will take us there. But if I remain in a state of belief that I believe in God, belief masks the reality. Let me explain. When you're walking around and you see a bear outside your backyard, will you have to believe that I believe in the existence of bears? No, I have seen the truth. I've seen the bears. But when I have never seen, I'm in India and my children have never seen bears, then they'll say, oh yes, I believe in bears, but I have never seen them. But the day you see them, you'll stop believing. You can say confidently, they are alive, they are there, they are very much there. So belief in God is also like that. See, the day you experience, you'll stop believing in God. You will claim loudly, He exists. I don't have to believe. I don't have to prove anything. And neither does God. His ego will not be hurt if you don't believe in Him. Parents today, they get hurt easily when their opinions, their way of life is not respected by children. They get offended. But God is never offended just because you don't believe. He doesn't care whether you believe or not. But believing in God should be a neutral approach, should be neither positive nor negative until we experience. In meditation also, I think when we approach and try to experience the presence of God, the first mistake people make is they assume the form of God. For example, many Sadgurus and yogis, they advocate Shiva. But imagine Shiva himself is meditating. Haven't you seen? They portray Lord Shiva, the huge statue, in eternal meditation, seated on top of Kailash. Whose imagination is that? I am not saying he doesn't exist, but the form is a problem. You start worshipping Shiva, but have you ever thought about on whom this Lord Shiva is meditating? Similarly, Lord Krishna, People say, oh, I got to meditate on Lord Krishna as a Yoga Purusha. But in his Yoga Purusha form itself, you notice him with closed eyes in deeper meditation. Upon whom is he meditating? So whenever we approach, close our mind, eyes, and approach towards our heart and say, okay, let me experience presence of God. The moment we assume forms, that he is, or even to think that he's a male or a female will be a disastrous outcome of it, because he's neither of it. He's a principle. So imagining form to fit our conditioning will defeat the purpose. So whenever I sit in meditation, I always had this approach that, God, please let me experience your presence the way you want me to experience, not the way I have been conditioned that he should be in a Shiva Linga. And if you imagine Shiva Linga, God, God forbid, you know the reality of Shiva Lingam? Linga means male sexual organ. Would you meditate on male sexual organ of Shiva? I understand it's a creative energy, but all these practices of worshipping Shiva Linga and later on Lingas, it is offshoot of Tantra Yoga, where a lot of tantrics brainwashed innocent girls and say worship this and worship that, and they've brought in this linga, and they also start making them start worshipping their own. That is the downfall of Hinduism. Imagining any form doesn't matter, and worst of all to think of a sexual organ in eternal conjugation. It's a blasphemous approach in approaching God. So you are all educated people. Think, please think before you worship anything. Lord Krishna's form that you see, it's an indicator. But you start imagining that Lord Krishna is romancing with Radha. This is pathetic imagination of all these artists. It's a divine, pure love. But how are you going to imagine all that? You imagine that he's in the form of this actor and she's in the form of this actress, and you bring all those imagination even during meditation. So how are you ever going to be successful with true meditation when mind is busy imagining? So all throughout your meditation, you will go on imagining one figure after another figure. Your meditation, no wonder, will fail and continues to fail. So we have to have a neutral approach, like God. If you are there, please let me experience. At least come to a neutrality, neutral ground, and say, okay, I'd like to approach God, yes. Though I don't know whether he's really there or not, good. It's a better situation. Now you approach with the open heart, without any conditions. Then there is a possibility of finding the real truth.